CNC Automotive,
your car care pros.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the CNC Automotive Show.
And good morning, and we would also like to say welcome to the CNC Auto Show, and I am Aaron Clements.
I'm John Ryan.
All right, John Ryan, are we ready to roll?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, we both are here because we would like to share information with you. Our goal is to give you information on ways to make your car, truck, or SUV safer, to make it more dependable, and to make it last longer for less money. And we always like to throw in less hassle, because keeping your car up and keeping the maintenance up should be, in a way, a little bit like fun in some ways, because you're able to monitor what's going on.
But it can be easily a hassle, too.
It can be. But as you're going on a trip and you realize everything's in good shape and you look around and everything's feeling good, you look at it and you say, wow, that's the reward of keeping this in really good condition. Now, we have several methods of doing this, but our preferred method is by the telephone. And we do that because we love to answer your questions, and we may have a question that we would like to ask you about when it did it, how it did it, different things like that. And it helps us get to the root of the problem a lot faster and give you a lot more information. So give us a call, and anytime between 8 and 10 on any Saturday morning from anywhere that you might be, give us a call by dialing 706-863-5800. And again, that's 706-863-5800. You can also watch this show if you're anywhere near a computer, and actually you can do this on your cell phone also. You can just punch in ccautoshow.com and you can watch this show live. And every now and then we do something a little silly on the screen.
No, you do.
But also we show some neat pictures behind us of different systems of the vehicle or different things that we might be talking about. So you'll be able to see a little bit of what we're trying to tell you also. And before we fire this show up, I do want to mention that if you're looking for a good professional automotive repair facility almost anywhere around our beautiful country, go to NapaAutoCare.com, and you can search for a list of Napa Auto Care centers in your area. And if you prefer to do the work yourself, I highly recommend going to NapaOnline.com to search for the Napa Auto Parts store that's closest to you. And if you'll be getting the stuff anyway, you might as well get the good stuff.
That's right.
And that would be to get Napa. Okay, now, John Ryan, are we ready to crank her up?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Whoa. That does sound good. That is a fairly sweet running engine right there when you crank that one up. So I like that. And we'll start out by wishing everyone a very happy New Year, first show of 2016. And last year was an exciting time for the automotive industry, and it promises to be even more exciting in the coming year. So during this show, along with answering your automotive questions, we'll also talk about past, present, and future technology on cars. And again, if you want to share an option that you may have on your car that you really hadn't seen before, but you purchased a car and you say, wow, that is really kind of neat, I like this option. Or if you've been in a friend's car or you tried out a car somewhere and seen an option that you really liked, give us a call and share that with us.
Yeah.
Or you might even remember a piece of technology that come out a long time ago that at the time it was very special to you.
Like an 8-track.
Yeah, exactly. I remember those.
You're not supposed to say you remember those,
I do. I remember.
Yeah, don't remember those.
No, I do. I remember the old 8-tracks. I had what was it? A 19, it was an older model Ford Fairlane.
Yeah.
And I was
well, what was your favorite 8-track?
I don't think
was it a Conway?
Well, I would listen to Conway 20, but I listen to all types of music. I mean, I remember listening to Johnny Cash, and I remember listening to what was it, Rare Earth, and I mean all of the. I mean, I was just a mixture of songs, and I still
you still are a mixture of songs.
I like all types of music. I mean, up and down the line there. So, but yeah, I remember the 8-tracks when you'd plug them in and you'd have to go forward to try to find the song and all that. So
yeah.
It was really kind of neat. Mm-hmm. Now, what do you remember past? You don't remember 8-tracks at all?
No, well, I mean, I remember them, but not in vehicles by any means. Cassette tapes were actually kind of fading out, to be honest with you. Yeah, cassette tapes, mostly.
Yeah.
But just like those, of course, you have to fast forward. And didn't you used to hit 2 buttons to switch it to the other side or
On
something
some
like that?
vehicles
Yeah,
you
but
did.
that was a fancy car.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was top of the line.
Yeah, you were doing good if you had one that you only
That you
push
could-
one button
yeah,
to
without-
flip it around.
Instead of taking it out, yeah.
Yeah, and
yeah,
then-
but it wasn't long after the CDs came out.
Yeah, and then some you could actually even push a button and go to that particular part of the tape.
Oh, really? Okay.
Or something like that. Yeah, that's when they really got on up.
Yeah,
there.
but even then, stereos sounded like a pair of headphones just laying in the glove box
Yeah.
compared to what they sound like now.
Exactly, and then different speakers come out, and
Yep.
and the
What,
story.
what were the big speakers when you were in high school? Were they like Cracos or something like that?
I think
Pyramid?
I remember Jensen speakers
Jensen? Okay,
being
yeah.
big.
Yeah.
And now this is terrible to even start talking about this part.
What?
But I do remember when you used to get these big speakers and you just set them on the. You didn't set them there.
Yeah, you didn't even install
out
them.
in the very back of the car. Just on the little thing
Back
in the
lid?
back,
Yeah.
and they'd kind of be built like a wedge, so they could kind of
Aim towards you.
Yeah, but then they found out that wasn't very healthy in an accident because these big speakers, when you hit
Huge
something,
magnets on the back of them.
these huge speakers would just come flying forward and hit people.
You're not going to tell us you had a Pontiac Fiero with the speakers in the seat? Do you remember those?
No, I don't.
That was probably a dream car
I
of
don't
yours.
think I would admit a Pontiac Fiero if I had one. Okay.
No.
Hey, you ready for a tech tip quiz?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay. And the winner will become one of the proud Tech Tip Quiz winner. And along with all the fame and glory, that person will receive a CNC Auto Show coffee cup, hat, and, of course, the highly sought-after Tech Tip Quiz golf shirt. And here is the question. Alyssa had a 01 Honda Civic. She loved the car and drove it for over 10 years. It had over 300,000 miles on it. The transmission finally went out, and she decided to just scrap the car. She found someone that paid her $250 for the car, but even though they hauled it off for her, she ended up losing over $2,500. How did she lose over $2,500 by scrapping
Wow.
the 01 Honda Civic? So if someone knows the answer to that part, they can give us a call. And again, the number 706-863-5800. Anywhere that you might be from 8 to 10 on Saturday morning, you give us a call and give us an answer, and you'll get that. Now, another item, we're talking about technology that's
Right.
coming out, and we'll be covering a lot of this all during the show. But here's one thing that's coming out, and you might be able to kind of add to it as we go. But tire pressure monitoring systems have been around for a long time now.
Yeah, they really have.
Yeah, and actually they've turned out fairly well.
Yeah, in the beginning they were kind of a hassle, really, like we mentioned earlier. They were just too finicky. I guess that's the best word for
They
it.
were sensitive.
Yeah, they were sensitive.
Yeah,
very sensitive. What school did you send them to?
Sensitivity school.
Yeah, and so now everything's kind of working out.
Yeah, and they're much easier going with things now. It used to be
They're
that you could-
optimistic.
if you could set the tire pressure and the temperature would drop 10 degrees and the air
Set the
pressure
light
drop
on.
a degree, the light would come on.
Yeah.
And of course, that was causing all kind of problems. People to come back and have to reset it, and there was a lot of issues there. But now they've made it a little bit easier going.
Well, that and a lot of the vehicles have changed the programming to also include that as a factor. You know, it knows what the ambient temperature is and all that stuff. So it kind of can calculate it, I guess, more accurately.
Yeah, and in short, it keeps the light from coming on for false reading.
That's right. Yeah.
As often. So that's been around a while ago, and I really believe that has turned out to be a very good system. I truly believe that saves lives.
Right.
Of course, because some people will just walk out and jump in their car and take off to Atlanta and not even think twice about it.
Well, especially, even when people walk around their vehicle and they look at the tires, they're just comparing them. It doesn't matter if all of them are low, they look all the same. So,
Yeah.
that's where that's helped also. It's obvious when you come out to your car and one's on the ground and the rest look okay, but when they're all low, you may just assume they're okay.
And then when you could be, say, 10 pounds low and take on a trip to Atlanta, especially on a hot day,
Yeah.
and it builds up a lot of extra pressure inside the wheel, and then you can have a tire blowout.
Yeah,
major
and
problems.
that's a quick indication that the tire light comes on.
Yeah, and not to mention it eats up the inside of the tire. Well, now we got something new coming along. We now will have car tread depth monitoring, and the tire manufacturers are working together, devising ways to tell you if the tire is worn beyond the recommended limits. And car manufacturers are allowing the computer to look at the tire pressure and then the rolling diameter of the tire
from start to finish,
and it can determine if your tire's worn out.
Yeah.
And also now that's some of the vehicle manufacturers. Some of the tire manufacturers are actually looking at ways to add sensors inside the tires
itself
to be able to tell. And of course, it'll also be able to check for gripping of the road and lack of traction and a lot of other things that it does. It'll know the number.
I think that'll probably come out on very high end cars in the beginning. Don't you think?
In the beginning, it will, but just
kind of like TPMS,
yeah, TPMS. When it and I'll mention that means tire pressure monitoring system.
Right. Yeah,
when that first come out, it was for mostly high end cars.
Yeah.
But then after it was a fairly short period of time, then they made it federal mandated laws,
yep.
That if you sell a car in the U.S., it will have to have this system.
That's right.
On it. And so that is going to be something that is going to be ahead, and I wouldn't doubt that this will eventually do the same thing.
That's right. I tell you, it's not going to work for me, though. I've never had a car that left the wheels and tires the same.
Yeah.
So if it's measuring diameter and all that, I'm going to throw it all off.
Yeah. Now, and this could be a good thing in another way, because many times, and I've mentioned this on the show before also, that there's a lot of vehicles out there, all-wheel drive vehicles.
Right.
And these all-wheel drive vehicles, if you have 3 good tires and 1 worn-out tire, you can do some terrible damage to the viscous dampener inside
the components in the transfer case for sure.
And those can be a very expensive deal. Now, they won't do it immediately, but over a period of time, they definitely would cause some problems that you have there.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We've unfortunately seen it often too many times.
Yeah, no doubt. Okay, it is coming up on time for a quick break.
Yeah.
Now, when we get back, we'll answer all those automotive questions, and also we'll tell you about a bit of technology, and this is kind of neat. And we'll be talking about different things that makes driving more fun, but also we'll be talking more and more about things that make vehicles safer.
Yep.
And this particular one is a piece of technology that can make driving a lot more relaxing to everybody.
Oh, you're going to dust off your 8 tracks.
No, not that. But we'll talk about it as soon as we get back on the CNC Auto Show. And welcome back to the CNC Auto Show. And technology that is making driving a lot more relaxing is the advancements in cruise control. And at one time, you could pretty much push the button and set the speed.
Oh, yeah.
And that really wasn't completely accurate. You would kind of go up and down.
Well, they would downshift a lot, too. They wouldn't really know what kind of throttle input.
Right. But now we have some really neat stuff out there. And that's the laser or the radar cruise or adaptive cruise, whatever you want to call it. And it takes a lot of the stress out of the driving. You just lock the cruise control into the vehicle that's in front of you, and then you just match the following distance that you want. If you want it so many feet behind the other car, you can do that. And then you press the button and boom, you don't have to do anything. If the car,
I think a lot of people think they have that, because I see a lot of cars riding about 6 inches from each other's bumpers.
Yeah, and they think that it would adapt to it.
Yeah, but I noticed, I think they have bricks on the gas pedal, not laser or anything. So.
But I tell you, I have used that several times on different cars.
Oh, yeah.
And it really is a neat feature. It just makes it to where you can just lock in and relax and just ride, and it's no more of the having to unlock the cruise for a period of time and then lock it back on and all of these other things. So and those that are watching ccautoshow.com will see kind of a neat picture of a vehicle that's locked into the cruise behind there. So it's really some neat stuff going on in that department, and I like it. Now, there's also some other things that are coming on board along with that. They're talking now about ways for a camera system to monitor the driver's eyes.
Oh, okay.
And if they see where the driver is getting drowsy, then they will automatically do different things to alert the driver that they're there.
Okay.
And
Like the visor will come down and slap them or something like that.
yeah, a little electric shock through the steering wheel or something along those lines.
Maybe it'll turn up the radio or something.
Right.
Seriously,
Now I see you got what you think I probably listened to.
Yeah, I think I found one of your. Let's see. Is this one of your 8 tracks?
It's been a long time.
Well,
I can just see you riding around listening to that.
I hate to say it, but I probably did. Because I listened to every type of music you could think of.
That's a good one, though.
And and I had some pretty peppy little cars. Now, of course, those were my very early years, but a little later on down the line, I got like 280Zs and MGs and ones like that.
You had a Mustang too, didn't you?
I had a Mustang, yeah.
Didn't you do a bunch of stuff you regret now?
I did something that wasn't very smart on a Mustang. I was a younger fella, and I had a beautiful 66 Mustang.
Perfectly operating Mustang?
I decided that it needed a very large engine, and I put the largest engine I could find in it. Now, to do that, I had to cut a section of the front end off.
Yeah, the frame and everything?
And the car was very peppy. It lifted the front wheels off the ground. The sad part is when it come back down, it tore the whole frame out from under the vehicle. So I had a beautiful 1966 Mustang that was worth pretty much nothing.
You kind of turned it into a wheelbarrow.
And you wonder, is that one of the reasons why today I don't do many modifications?
That might be it.
I made up my mind then that I wanted to get every car as close to what the factory said it should be.
Yeah.
And that, that might be why.
That might be it.
Yeah.
After you put the front wheels through the fenders.
Yeah, it looks like we got some calls coming in. Where are we going to?
Let's go to Tim.
Hey, Tim, welcome to the CNC Auto Show.
How you doing?
We are doing very well. And what can we help with today?
I got a 89 Chevrolet van G20 with a 5.7. And what it's doing is when I go down the road and it seems like it's getting hot, it'll just cut off. And the other day it cut off and it smelled like a real bad odor. So what I did was I got it towed back home, and then after it cooled off, it crunked back up again. So I went to the auto parts store, and they told me maybe it's a catalytic converter. So I took the catalytic converter off and put a straight piece of pipe in.
Don't say that on air.
Yeah. So I put a straight piece of pipe in.
You replaced it with a straight converter.
Yeah, with a straight converter. And then it still cut off after I did that. So then the boy told me maybe it was the fuel pump getting popped. So I replaced the fuel pump. It didn't do it with the fuel pump. Then he told me ignition coil. I put ignition coil on it. And then
is this guy getting commission?
Yeah. And then I put a distributor cap on it. And I put a rotary in it. And it's still doing the same thing.
This guy don't have stock in a parts store, does he?
I don't know. It seems like it is, but I've changed everything I can think to change that on.
When you walk back through the door, does he have another part waiting?
Yeah.
Tim, there's a small bolt behind the rear bumper.
Yeah.
That you hadn't, did you?
No, I ain't saying that yet.
Give that a shot. No, Tim, before I mention this, you might tell me that you've already replaced it. Did you put an ignition module in it?
I put an initial module in it.
Okay. Was that module in the distributor, or was it mounted on the side of the throttle body?
It was in the distributor.
Okay, good. The only other thing, no doubt, a lot of those things that you replaced are very common issues on that particular engine. That's a TBI engine, throttle body injected. Fairly simple fuel injection system. Of course, it uses the ignition module to detect that it's got engine rotation, so of course you replace that. The only other thing I can think of is those spark controllers. Do you remember that model, Aaron?
That is what I was thinking about.
Yeah.
I can't believe you were thinking about the same thing, because they not all. As a matter of fact, very few actual cars had them.
That's
think it
right.
was mostly the vans.
I think
and
the
trucks.
Firebirds, as far as cars, had them, but the trucks had them. Yeah.
Yeah, and that little thing it's a little silver box mounted under the dash.
ESC. Yep.
Yeah, and what happens is your distributor as it's spinning, it's generating a voltage, and that voltage normally just stays just inside the distributor. and it can fire your plugs. And then, of course, as time went on, they fed it into the computer. But in that model, they fed it into that little EST module that he's talking about, and then that had to modify the signal, advance the timing, decrease the timing, and then send it back. Well, if that module goes bad, it don't go into a bypass mode like they should have done.
It just doesn't know what to do.
And it don't know what to do. And, of course, the car cuts off, and that is most likely the trouble.
Tim, have you ever had the vehicle scanned for trouble codes, though?
No, I went yesterday to O'Reilly to do it, and once I got there,
they don't have the machine for that.
It don't have a cigarette. They had the machine, but they didn't. I don't have a cigarette lighter in the van.
Okay.
And they said they had to plug it into the cigarette lighter, and I didn't have a cigarette lighter in there, so I bought a cigarette lighter.
I got John Ryan. See if you remember this. On that model, in the beginning, all we could do was replace that unit.
Right.
But as time went on, there was a test that you could bypass.
Yeah, I believe it was by taking the timing spout out, wasn't it?
No, I think you had to jump 2 wires on the distributor. The little wire that left the
white wire.
Yeah, there was a wire.
That's what I thought you did. If I remember right, you disconnect the spout connector so it has no control over the timing, and then you jump the white wire that comes out the back of the module.
Yeah. But you might go on the internet and find that, Tim, because I'm sure that there's going to be something on there that will let you know.
And Tim, I will say, if you get the trouble code scanned on that, it may lead you in a different direction, because there are so many things that it could be. Of course, there's obviously all the wires in between, a ground that's maybe even the PCM ground gets warm, and of course, it could shut off. We've seen ground wires attached to the exhaust manifold, and then as the vehicle heats up, it loses ground and does a lot of the same symptoms you're talking about.
And Tim, what we may do, matter of fact, if you want to hold on just a little bit, John Ryan could look on the internet real quick during the break, and if there's a way to bypass that, we'll tell you. You want to do that?
I got him on hold here.
Oh, okay. Well, if he does decide to hold,
we'll look it up.
We'll do that. Okay, we're going to take a real quick break, and when we return, we'll share another technology item that makes driving even more enjoyable. We'll be right back. And I did mention earlier that one item that makes driving more enjoyable is the laser radar or adaptive cruise control. It locks into the car in front of you and matches its speed. Well, there's also hands-off driving. And Telsa, it seems...
Oh, I think a lot of people have that.
Yeah, they just kind of let go and forget it and put it on cruise. Things on cruise. But Telsa seems to be leading the way on this, and they have the automotive autopilot control system. And it uses a vast army of sensors and cameras to stay between the lines and checks it. It checks the surroundings, and it pretty much does the driving for you. And you'll get displays that tell you to keep your hands on the wheel. Now, they tell you that, but it's a little bit like the deal where when you cut your GPS on, it says, "Do you accept this?"
Do you accept this? Like not to watch it?
Yeah,
not to use its function.
Don't use this while driving.
Yeah,
but they're pretty much doing that to cover themselves.
That's right.
Because if someone is using hands-off driving, more than likely they're going to end up taking their hands off the wheel and
of course
and just driving. And so it does that for you, but it is a pretty neat system.
That is cool.
And I did read another article somewhere that was saying that all of this technology is very, very usable in its state right now. What they're trying to do is move the consumer into the trusting stage of all of this technology.
That's right.
Because very few people are going to just
hop in
be
and
able
go.
to let go and feel comfortable.
That's right.
But, of course, my fear that I have is people just cutting it on and falling. It would be much easier to fall asleep.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Now, of course, they do have a lot of warnings that you can make as you're riding.
Well, maybe it'll have something like what you're talking about with the monitoring system for your eyes.
Yeah.
Maybe, if it sees you dozing off or whatever, I mean, it very well could pull
and
over.
And then it'll have
a
vibration in different areas to let you know to cut it on. I still think they're going to end up needing shock treatment in there, though,
that'd be good
to make it really work.
Just
good.
a little taser.
Yeah, a little small one. Okay, now we would just give us a call, and the number to call, and this is on Saturday morning between 8 and 10 from anywhere that you might be, is 706-863-5800. And John Ryan, we looked up the gentleman's
Yeah, we did the timing thing. And as far as I know, from the information we've got here, it's just disconnecting the spout, which is the timing set connector. Will basically put that timing in base mode, meaning it won't adjust. One other thing I did think about on those, and you're gonna, as soon as I mention this, you're gonna see it in your mind. You remember those grounds that control the everything on that car or that truck? When a lot of people do the intake manifold, they put the grounds in the wrong location. It's all the way at the back.
Head, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. It's supposed to be at the head.
Yeah.
A lot of people put them on the bell housing, and then you may remember this vehicle. We had a very similar one. This was probably 10 years ago. We'd drive it, and it, boom, shut off. They had put the ground on the exhaust manifold. And, of course, exhaust manifold bolts are normally rusty, and when it heated up, it would actually lose the ground. So that's another thing to look at.
It would create, the heat would create a higher resistance in the
that's
wire.
right. That's right.
And then it would lose that.
Yep. Well, I was digging through your 280Z.
Oh, you did?
I found another
No, the
8-track.
280Z.
What would the 280Z have?
It had a cassette.
Oh, well, this was a cassette then. Do you remember that one?
I do remember.
You're probably doing a burnout
Yeah.
playing this song.
The 280Z was more of a road car. It wasn't a burnout type car. It was very fast. It was 5-speed transmission. It was very nice driving vehicle though.
All right.
It was light blue, and
Didn't you find a picture of it recently?
I think I did. Yeah,
Yeah. We'll have to put that up on the screen one day.
And that gives me a chance to mention it everyone one more time on all that. As you go through the year, and you're taking pictures of the family and all the other things.
Well, make sure you take
take
pictures of family too.
Yeah, I wish so bad I would have had pictures of so many cars that I've had over the years.
Oh yeah.
Even my dune buggy, I really can't find that many of my dune buggy that I had. So all that would have been so neat to be able to look back at those pictures. But at the time, I never even thought about it that much. Okay, want to mention we do have a fuel report. And we've been having some very nice fuel reports lately.
Yep.
And actually, it's expected to continue to have some nice fuel reports. The national average price for gas in 2015 was $2.40, which you got to figure that's a high number, but that was for the year.
That's right,
An average for the year. And it's the cheapest annual average in the past 10 years, and only 2009 was lower during that time. And the year's annual average was 94 cents a gallon, less than 2014. And AAA estimates that Americans save more than, get this, $115 billion on gasoline in 2015 compared to 2014, which is an average of more than $550 per person.
Yeah, per driver.
Yeah, per driver that they saved, which is really neat. And so since every driver out there pretty much got $550, I think it'd be neat if everyone just said, well, I believe I'll just go out to eat or something like that. And
Well, no doubt that's a fun way to spend it. But of course, you could put that back in your vehicle for maintenance too.
Yeah.
So not only it's kind of like a $550 bonus. Plus, you're putting it into your car, you'll get that much more out
and
of
you'll
it.
get both. You can take like $20 or $30, $40 of it and go to eat, and then put the other in.
There you go. Go maintain the vehicle and then go out to eat.
And then you'll continue to save money, and the vehicle.
I just said that because I'd rather put something on my truck than eat.
Yeah. That's true, and you will do that. And let's just cover one more neat option that so many other cars have now, because we only have a second or two for the next break.
Yeah.
Adaptive headlights.
Oh, those are very cool. Yeah, I do. I like them. It's a little different, but yeah, they're very, very good. I think a good feature to have on a vehicle.
Yeah, and one thing about those is they actually turn
with the steering wheel. Yeah,
turn with the steering wheel.
Kind of a complex system. Uses steering angle sensors and stuff like that. But really a good system. Haven't had much trouble out of them either.
Not that much.
Yeah.
They actually do pretty good. When we return, we'll mention a bit of technology that has become very common on cars and getting even more common. We'll be right back. And we are back talking about technology and answering your automotive questions. And a bit of technology that's really been expanded over the last few years are the camera systems.
Really is, no doubt.
Those are huge. And it started out as a backup camera.
Right.
As being something that was a good idea, because you would see a little bicle laying behind it.
Yeah.
Or little children kind of playing behind the car, and boom.
Or a pole.
Or a pole or something, or another car.
Yeah.
So it turned out to be a good thing in that area, but they have expanded on it greatly.
Oh yeah, you can get them on the rear view mirrors facing out, of course, showing the peripheral traffic and everything. That's a pretty neat feature.
Yeah, and actually it just takes the place of the rearview mirror. Instead of looking at the mirror, you're looking
the
at
only thing for me on that is you're still taking your eyes off the road to look at a screen to tell you what's beside you. But I mean, I guess, technically a mirror does the same thing.
Yeah.
But it's more in your peripheral vision, I think.
But another neat feature that some cars have now, and a lot of these options that I mentioned, I don't really remember the vehicle each time when it does it. I think these are mostly GM, but I have seen it on other cars.
Right.
But when you turn the right turn signal on, the camera shows
that side.
Everything on the right-hand side, so you don't have anything in your blind spot anymore.
For some reason, Cadillac comes to mind. That was the first one that I remember driving that had that feature.
And I think that's been a really neat thing, because especially trucks, it is very difficult when you change in lanes.
It really is, especially if a smaller car, of course, lower to the ground is beside you. When you look out that way, you may not see, the entire vehicle. You may see a roof. You may not see anything at all.
And a lot of people wonder how the lane departure system, how you do the hands-on driving. What are they doing to make it to where you can just take your hands off the wheel? Well, that's done with cameras.
Yeah,
it's looking at the lines on the road and adjusting the steering according to the lines that are on the road.
That's right.
And if it was to lose that signal from one of those lines, let's say the line for whatever reason was gone, then it would alert you with a vibration.
Yeah, the vibration in the seat
on one side or the other to let you know that you need to grab the wheel, and a little signal on the display,
right,
to let you know that you need to grab the steering wheel and take control. So all of that's done with cameras. And then, of course, the other big thing that is done with cameras has to do with the dash cam.
Oh, yeah.
And, of course, that's in with the police and all of this that they do. And
I think those are helpful, though.
I think they can be very helpful, because it can save you from taking the blame for something that you may not
Absolutely.
have done.
Of course, this isn't on a car, but obviously at intersections with cameras, I think that's a good feature.
Yeah,
thing to have.
And that's what most people want, is the truth. But sometimes when you're doing the truth and you're looking for the truth in there, you're not able to get it because of the lines being so blurry,
right?
From people being excited from the accident. But then some people look at it.
You can't handle the truth.
Some people just can't handle the truth. But the fact is,
I want the truth.
You want the truth?
You love those, don't you?
Yeah, I do. But some people just want to know what did happen, and in many cases that's very difficult.
Yeah,
without
difficult.
That.
It is.
But when they sit down and look at the video, of course, there's no denying what happened then.
Yeah, because you could have 4 people, and every one of them is going to have a different story, no matter what. So, but the camera.
And I have read some articles so far, and this has happened in many cases, to where there was for instance, one person sued another driver for slamming on brakes repeatedly in front of them and all this other stuff. And,
right.
And they were able to get the clear picture of what went on
because of that
video.
dash cam. Yeah,
exactly.
All right, Aaron, I did a little more digging in the old glove box.
Oh no, you found another one?
Yeah, hit play over there.
Okay.
Now, what car would this been in?
Let me see.
It's probably been Dune Buggy.
No. That would have been a Fairlane.
Fairlane?
The Fairlane.
I wanted to hear the Dune Buggy story with the bleach blonde hair. Let's make these listeners
Well, I did.
painful
Well, actually,
for a second.
The hair part of it, and this could have very well played in the MG. And actually, the hair part of it was I had an MG.
Get ready, everybody.
And I would take this MG to Daytona, and of course I would have to carry the what would they call it, sun in. Yeah, and you had to spray that all over your hair because you wanted that beach look when you're riding along there. So yeah, that was very very weird.
But you admit to it.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, no doubt. Yeah, it was a lot of fun though. We had some great times and did different things like that. And now another piece of technology that I think it would be good to mention, and one of the reasons we want to mention a lot of this stuff so people know what's coming, and in many cases already here. For instance, this system is already here, and it's called the BAS system, and the term is BAS, and it's acronym for Belted Alternator Starter, and it's a category of automotive parallel. It sort of hooks in a way like a small hybrid,
in a very small unit,
technology. But what it is an electric motor. It contributes to the power, and especially during takeoff, because that's when the majority of your fuel is used.
Right.
So it assists in getting the car going.
It's kind of a torque generator.
Yeah, exactly. And then also along with that, this BAS system also it works as the starter that you have to crank the car, and it also works as the alternator.
Yeah, but what's the most important part of it?
That would be
it shuts off at idle.
Yeah, well, now that is the vehicle does shut off at idle.
Yeah,
and it uses that to crank it.
Well, I guess I shouldn't say the most important part, but the part that a consumer would see right off the bat.
Yeah, and that is something that we'll cover during the next hour a little bit. That's
I haven't seen it on any American cars yet, just for European.
The BAS system. Well, it will be on General Motors if it's not already. I think some models are already.
I know
out.
I've driven some Mercedes and BMWs with it.
Yeah, with the BAS system. And that's something that's going to be real regular. And we'll be talking a little bit more during the next hour of the system that you're talking about that goes in conjunction with that is the auto cutoff, start-stop system is what it's called. And, of course, it used to be at one time people didn't want their car to cut off at a stop sign.
Right.
And now it's pretty normal. And I'll tell a quick story about that. We repaired a car for a company one time, and they hadn't really drove the car that much themselves, but we got through working on it. It was a fairly late model car. We got through working on it, and the person picked it up that was driving it back, and they called back and said, "You didn't test drive this car when you were done. This thing cuts off at every stop sign." And I said, "No, that car's supposed to do that. It's built to cut off at the stop signs." Which is really a neat feature, and that is something that does save a huge amount of fuel. Now, one of the reasons that it's a little bit more complicated than just letting the car cut off and letting it crank back up is because that you have to have a method to run the air conditioning system
at idle,
at idle, and also you have to have a charging system or a battery system with enough juice to keep everything working,
operating right,
and operating well while it's gone. So it's really but it is something that's really neat. Does save a lot of fuel. Okay, we are getting close to time to shut this hour down, but before you know it, we'll crank up another hour. And thank you for all those that tuned into the show, and we want to say especially thank you to all those that called into the show. And we appreciate you riding with us during the CNC Auto Show for this hour, and we'll be cranking up that next hour very, very shortly. You can also go to ccautoshow.com and watch this show live, and we will see you very shortly with the CNC Auto Show. And welcome back to the CNC Auto Show, and I am Aaron Clements.
I'm John Ryan.
And we're two car guys that love to share information with you, and our goal is to give you information on ways to make your car, truck, or SUV safer, to make it more dependable, and to make it last longer for less money and less hassle. And we have several methods of doing that, but by far our favorite is by the telephone.
For
you can
sure.
Give us a call. Yes, it is. Because that way you get to join the show, and we get to know each other a little bit better. Now, so if you're listening between 8 and 10 on any Saturday morning from anywhere that you may be, just give us a call. And again, 706-863-5800. And you can also watch this show at ccautoshow.com. And before we fire this puppy up, I do want to mention that if you're looking for a good professional automotive repair facility in anywhere around the country, just go to NapaAutoCare.com. You'll see a little area there that'll say search or find a shop, actually, is what it'll say. And you can go in there and do like a 25 mile an hour.
How fast do you want to get there?
A 25-mile search or a 50-mile search and find the shop that you like. And I think that's a great feature because you never feel alone. Wherever you're at around the country, if you run into a problem, you know that you can use that website to find a lot of different shops, and you can choose the one that's best for you. And also, if you plan to do the work yourself, you can go to NapaOnline.com, and you can find the parts store that is right for you. And if you plan to get parts, you might as well get the good stuff.
That's right.
That's exactly the way it is. Okay, John Ryan, let's crank her up.
All right.
Oh no, what happened?
I think you forgot to put something back on.
Oh, let's try. Hold on, try this now. Oh, there we go. That was a lot better. All right, we got her fired up, and our theme this
Line
week.
one is Ryan and Evans. My computer's locked up.
And this is past, present, and future car technology. Automotive technology is changing very quickly, and you're seeing things on cars that were considered science fiction just 10 or 20 years ago. And during today's show, we'll talk about some of the neat systems that cars have now, and also some of the things that you may expect to see in the future. So
That's right.
if you're listening anywhere, and on a Saturday, 8 to 10, just go to 706-863-5800. And John, Ryan, let's go to Ryan
That's what it looks like. Let's go over.
in Evans. Good morning, Ryan, and welcome to the show.
Hey, good morning, guys. How are y'all?
Doing very well. What can we help with this morning?
Well, I got a question. I recently purchased a 2012 991 911 Carrera S, and I drove right before I bought it. I drove a 997, the first generation Carrera S, and I was just wondering what the major technology upgrades they went from the 997 to the 991 model.
Oh, that is a good question. I don't stay up to date on the Porsches as much as I used to. I do know that a lot of the fuel injection was changed over to get a little bit more power out of that particular engine. But that's really all I know about that one. I know it's a awesome car. I mean, there's no doubt about that. How long have you had it?
I've had the car, maybe like 3 weeks now.
Right. Is it a pretty significant difference between the two?
It is. I actually traded in a 2015 BMW M4 that I ordered from Germany from the factory,
wow.
and I really enjoyed it, but the 911 was kind of always what I wanted, so I went ahead and got a really good deal on a really nice 911 Carrera S, and it's a big difference from the M4.
Oh, no doubt.
So far with that vehicle, what feature do you like the best on this one?
Besides the gas pedal.
Yeah.
The PDK transmission, I'd have to say, is probably one of my favorites. Also, just the overall quality of the car.
Yeah, the fit, finish, and everything.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. I hope you really enjoy that thing.
Yeah.
Oh, I am.
It would be hard not to, wouldn't it?
And
That's right, yeah.
we should probably tell them about how we always offer to test drive those for about
That's
a
what I was
week,
thinking.
make sure everything's, ironed out on it and whatnot.
We could break that in for you.
It's well broken in, I promise you.
Okay.
Well, we appreciate the phone call.
All right, thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you
Aaron.
very much. Okay, another item that has to do with technology that's on the vehicles now that is really neat is the lane departure warning system.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
Yeah, and I know you're a GM guy, and a lot of the GMs have that.
Yeah, they do. And, one other thing I kind of like about a lot of the GMs, of course, you see it in the mirror, obviously, for one thing. But even if you don't have it when you pass somebody's car, you actually see their mirrors and stuff change different colors to indicate that a car is coming by. I kind of like that, too, because you're not even driving the vehicle, and you can see that, obviously, that has changed. So I do like that feature.
And those, I guess a lot of people probably do know what the lane departure feature is, but we will mention that a lane departure warning system is a mechanism designed to warn a driver when the vehicle begins to move out of its lane. Unless a turn signal's on now, it'll disregard, it won't warn you of a problem, of course, then. But on freeways and arterial roads, these systems are designed to minimize accidents by addressing the main causes of collisions, which is...
I'm going to say texting while driving, but you're going to say...
Well, driver error, which is the same thing.
Yep.
And that is the number one cause of accidents.
Right.
Has to do with not attention and just going off the road. and of course that includes distractions and drowsiness. So I do believe that this will end up one day also being a mandatory feature.
Yeah, I think a lot of these features that are coming out now will eventually be mandated. Just they have to have them.
Yeah, and we'll be talking a little bit in the future of this show that another item that is neat that's on the cars has to do with the vehicles. We'll be talking to each other.
That's right, communication between them.
Yeah, and that's a really neat system that they have there, and that is the V2V system that they have. And we mentioned another neat feature that vehicles have now. Of course, and I've mentioned this a little bit about this in the past, but there's a few little twists and turns that it makes. BMW has developed a fully autonomous valet system that will park your car, and it's completely controlled by a smartwatch and your voice. The CES 2015 is in full swing in Las Vegas, and the two hot topics this year were wearable smartwatches and driverless technology. And the car is smart enough to navigate through a multi-story parking garage by combining real-time scans from onboard lasers and digital floor plans.
That's saying a lot. A lot of people can't even do that.
That is true. But it will go park itself and then lock itself without an operator in the vehicle. And when the driver's ready, the car will return and pick the driver up, navigate out of the parking garage, and return to its owner.
You got to admit, that's got to be funny to watch. Like, was that a car without somebody in it?
Well, I'm gonna mention something that I did years ago, and this was a neat system, and I may have mentioned some of this before, but I remember back. It was in the 90s, I believe. It was a long time ago, before you ever even heard of a remote start.
Right.
And a GM car come in that evidently they were practicing this. It had to have been in the 80s because this had a carburetor for sure.
Yeah.
I remember that because I couldn't figure out how they did it. But anyway, they had this thing set up to where you could go in and use a remote start for this car.
Right.
It was a regular GM vehicle. It was a Pontiac, and you could push the button. And nobody at the time had ever heard of remote start, not even a hint of it.
Just unheard of.
And I mean, we had a ball. We would sit behind a glass door. I mean, a door with some glasses in it so we could see out there.
Yeah.
And we'd wait till somebody was walking by or somebody getting into the car next to it.
And crank it up.
And we would crank that up, and and they would look around and not know what in the world was going on. And we had so much fun with that car.
Oh, yeah. Fun to play pranks on.
Yeah, we hated for the person to come pick their car up.
That's like my old Tahoe that I had. I had train horns on it, and when the alarm would go off, the train horns would go off. So I'd sit at a restaurant, and somebody would get beside it, and of course I'd hit unlock, and the train horn would go. That was pretty fun.
Robin in Augusta.
That would have been.
All right, ready to go to callers?
Yeah, let's go talk to Robin.
All right.
Okay, fantastic. Good morning, Robin, and welcome to the CNC Auto Show.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. What can we help with today?
Well, I know you guys are talking about technology, right?
Yes, absolutely we are.
Well, we just are driving in a brand new 2016 Yukon Denali.
Oh, wow.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we bought it on New Year's Eve.
Wow. That's like my dream car. You mind dropping it off?
Sure. Well, I'll tell you, at first, all the bells and whistles on this was a little bit overwhelming, but it's going to be a lot of fun getting to know this car.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's got plenty of buttons to play with.
What's your favorite feature so far? What do you like the most?
Well, it's kind of cold this morning, so I like the heated seats. No.
I was going to mention heated seats there for a second there. How about, does it have the heated steering wheel?
Yeah, it's got the heated steering wheel, but it also has cool. The seats will be warm before you know it.
I love that more than the heated seats. Yeah, because on a hot day you get in and the seats are all cool. Oh, I love that.
Yeah, that's a good feeling.
Yeah.
But I think it's the all the driver assistance, the awareness, things that it has to help you.
So you have the lane
run
departure warnings to where it vibrates the seat if you pull over, get over too far. Have you noticed that if you get over too far in the right lane or start to run off the right side, it vibrates on your right side.
Then the
And
left
if,
side
if
too.
you go to the left side, it'll vibrate on the left side.
Yeah. It's really
Robin, that's kind of telling us that you're not driving right.
Well,
well.
well, what I run into, I had a little spot on my back. So
Aaron just rode on the right-hand
just
side.
rode off the road for a while until everything felt fine.
Until he worked it out.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I do have one question.
Sure.
We're about to drive. We're taking a trip. We're actually relocating back to Augusta here from Dallas. And
Oh,
we're
welcome
about
to Augusta.
We're about to drive this morning back to Texas.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think the tire pressure needs to be set on a vehicle like this?
Oh, that's a
For a
very
road
good
trip like
question.
that.
I can tell you where to find that information. If you open up the driver's door, there is a placard on there, and it will show the tire pressure that, of course, the manufacturer has found gets the best fuel economy, best ride, best wear, and everything for that vehicle. I would guess it to be somewhere around 38, probably.
And my guess is you can just push a few buttons and tell exactly
Yeah,
what
if you
that
hit
is.
the
Yeah, we can tell. It's 31 now. And
31,
so-
yeah, I would say that's a little low, but just check that placard, and it may not be that far off.
Uh-huh.
Well, we're heading back to the
is that the
dealership right
actual
now.
one?
'Cause yeah. My husband said he thinks that it needs a little more. So
Wow.
I'm just curious what you guys would say. Yeah, we'll definitely check that out. But no, this is really. We were contemplating a Cadillac.
Yeah.
But we've been driving an SUV for the last 12 years, and ironically, the last vehicle that my husband, this is his new vehicle. We bought it on New Year's Eve 12 years ago. So now
All right.
it's a good day for us to buy a car.
Well, congratulations
Yeah, and
on
enjoy
the
your trip.
addition to your family. And welcome back. Welcome to Augusta also. Okay, it is time to take a quick break. And when we return, we'll mention some items that will keep you safe while driving. That and more on the CNC Auto Show. We'll be right back. And we are welcoming you back to the CNC Auto Show, and a system designed to keep you safe that has improved a huge amount over the years is, of course, a lot of different safety items, and that would be your ABS, anti-skid, your traction control.
Yeah, everybody kind of has their own name for it.
Yeah, in a lot of them, they use the same sensors
Oh, yeah.
to make everything work.
Mm-hmm.
And it's those are systems that a lot of times people will come in and have repaired. Other times they may look at it and say, well, if it's going to take a whole control module or take all of this,
Yeah.
I may not. And the biggest thing we always like to mention on these systems that you have, whether it's ABS, traction control, or whatever, is when the light comes on, a lot of people, let's say that an ABS light comes on and a brake light comes on with it.
Right.
A lot of people are concerned that that's affecting, or that's going to make it to where they won't have any brakes.
That's
at
right,
all.
yeah.
And in effect, what it's doing is saying, no, you still have your regular brakes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is in most cases.
That's right.
You still have your regular braking system, but you will not have your anti-lock brake.
Yeah, it's basically letting you know that the feature of the anti-lock brakes is not going to perform, but the regular brakes will be just like they used to be.
Exactly. Now, we do recommend having them checked out because you may have a very minor problem.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of smaller things that can affect the ABS. And under most conditions, if any way possible, I do recommend keeping those systems functioning
Yeah, absolutely.
at their peak because they are great safety items.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people wonder what the ABS system does because they've never been in a situation where they've used anti-lock braking system. So what I normally recommend to people, and especially as you're training your
Younger drivers,
teenager to drive,
upcoming drivers, yeah.
and this person is learning how everything works, I would recommend taking them out to a parking lot on a wet day.
Yeah.
And make sure there's not even a pole in the center, because that one little pole in the center, I've heard of people
It claims vehicles.
hitting that one pole that's sitting in the middle of a huge parking lot. But find a place where you're absolutely sure that nothing is around.
Yeah.
And do some panic stops.
I'm gonna tell you, gravel road is very easy to get it to do it too.
Yeah.
So if you have pretty close access to a gravel road, but do just that,
Yeah.
get them to drive it, say 20 miles an hour, and kind of get aggressive on the brakes. That way they can feel what that feels like. That way, if they ever do have to use it, it won't be something unfelt.
A lot of times, if they feel it, they may think something's wrong with the car.
Yeah. Oh, I can't count the customers come in. Hey, there's something going on with my brakes. In the rain, when I really step on them, they go to the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it is kind of the feeling. It does feel like it's going to the floor, but it definitely stops. Mention here at the shop when we do our little car care day. Remember what we did with the vans?
Oh,
One stop
we
with
have done that
ABS
before.
and one without.
We did have one car with ABS system and one without ABS system.
Yeah.
And we got them up to a certain speed and then slammed on brakes.
Yep.
And when
At the start line, basically.
we measured the stopping distance. Now I don't really remember what.
Yeah, I
the
don't
exact
recall the
numbers
distance
were.
or the speed.
But no doubt the one with ABS stopped in a shorter distance. But also on top of that, what's most important is with ABS systems when the road is wet, if a wheel locks down, you lose your steering.
Yep, because it's grabbing to the side that's let go,
And
basically.
you can't avoid the accident. Let's say you had a car in front of you and you had an empty lane to the right that you could move over to, where if you slam on brakes and your wheels are locked, there's no steering,
Yep.
so you would just go right into the other car. But with anti-lock brakes, if you hold that constant pressure on that brake pedal, you can steer your car out of that danger.
That's right.
And then move
it
on
relieves
ahead.
enough brake pressure for the wheel that's locking up to allow it to roll, and then of course apply brakes very firmly on the rest of them, or whichever one has better traction, basically.
And then, of course, traction control is on a snowy day. If you're accelerating and instead of you just sitting there on one wheel just spinning and spinning, the traction control sort of works in the opposite direction as the ABS system.
Right.
If it senses that a wheel is spinning, then it'll apply brake pressure to that one wheel, and that will cause the other wheel to spin more.
Spin a little bit, yeah.
And it will give you the
And
traction.
of course, if it's a four-wheel drive vehicle or all-wheel drive vehicle, it can also give traction to the front if it's a selectable four-wheel drive system.
So that doing that, you're less likely to get stuck, and you're less likely to spin the wheels as you're taking off, which is a real good thing.
Absolutely, very cool.
Now, another thing, while we're on the safety items, let's go ahead and mention a little bit about the airbag system.
Yeah.
Those have improved dramatically.
They have, years ago. Well, a lot of people are afraid of airbags in the beginning, but they've come a long way. Some of them have dual stage squibs, and what that means is, say, under a certain speed, only one deployment loop of the airbag will come out. Under a faster speed, different condition, both of them will come out. Of course, there's passenger presence system to where, when airbags first came out and you had your briefcase and your lunchbox or whatever in the front seat and you had an accident, both airbags would blow no matter what. But now the actual front seat is basically has a weight sensor in it, and it detects if a person's in there or if, items like groceries or whatnot's in there, and it won't deploy that airbag. So that's a neat feature. And then, of course, we have the curtain airbags, the headrests that, retract. And there's so many different.
And the seatbelt anchor bolts
That pull in,
that pull in. And there's actually igniters inside of those.
Yeah, that's right.
That pull in. And some people may find that when they're ordering parts, you may find it difficult to have certain items like airbags and things like that shipped, but a lot of the shipping companies will not
That's right.
ship items like that
Because
so they have to
that
be-
gas charged cylinder, yeah.
Exactly. And so there's a lot of things. I've thought a lot of times to where they might come out ahead just to, in an accident, just have something that immediately fills the whole car with foam.
Yeah, when we talk about those little, like, packing peanuts,
Yeah.
just all of a sudden they just
Yep.
appear.
And then you're all safe. That would almost be kind of neat to be able to do that.
That's another patent in your mind that you're going to lose. Because remember the other one you had, the car finder?
Yeah, a long time ago. I
That
had
was a good one.
finder. Yeah. That was many years ago, and I even had it hooked up, and it worked really neat.
Yeah.
At the time. Now, one other thing that we do want to mention just a little bit, and we'll go into that's a neat thing on vehicles now also, is the that you see from time to time is the heads-up display.
Yeah, honestly, I thought that would be a bigger hit when it first came out. I remember some of the Corvettes that came out with it. Pontiac Bonneville's had it, yeah.
Pontiac.
Some of the was it the GTP Pontiacs? Those are pretty nice cars. Yeah. I think more and more vehicles do have it nowadays. It's more of a feature that you can actually ask for. It's not like something that just flat out comes on a vehicle.
Yeah. But when they first come out, the most that it would give you is just the speed of the vehicle.
Right.
And that was
yeah.
pretty much
maybe
it.
coolant temp.
And
if you're
then
lucky.
it was a special spot that it had to shine on the steering on the windshield at.
Yeah.
Because it was just sort of pre-made for it.
Yep.
And if you were to move in a certain direction, you couldn't
lose
see
vision
it
of it. Yeah.
And it had a little adjustment so you could adjust it up and down.
Right.
But the ones now are very, very user friendly. They give you a lot more information than you had before. And then on top of that, you're able to see it from just about any
Well, they're
angle.
adjustable too for, of course, different heights of drivers. You can actually, there's a little arrow that you make them up or down or side to side, so it's kind of neat.
Yeah, and some of them, when you look at it, you would swear
it's another dashboard.
well, you would swear that it's just hanging off the front of the car.
Yeah.
Because that's what it looks like. It's sort of a nice 3D image that sort of leans over the car, really nice. So those are pretty sweet now. Come a long way.
Yeah, it's time for another break, Aaron.
Yeah, we're going to need to take another break. When we return, we'll mention some more items that will keep you safe. We'll be right back. And something that's been added to cars that nobody wanted just a short period of time back, but now they think it's a big thing, which it is actually. And that's the start-stop system. Some years back, nobody wanted a car to cut off at a red light or stop sign. But now the cars are designed to cut off at the red light or something.
Well, I think years ago that was the reason was because of course they'd lose everything, AC, all the comfort features, and now
and power steering.
Yeah, all that still stays. So I think that's why consumers are okay with it now.
Yeah, and it saves the fuel. And on most cars, you can cut the feature off if you don't want it to do it.
Yeah, you can disable it. That's right. Yeah.
And it's really a kind of a neat feature, and there's no doubt that it has to save a lot of gas.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, now, if you have a question about your car, truck, or SUV, give us a call, and that's on any Saturday morning, 8 to 10, from anywhere that you might be. Just dial that number, again, 706-863-5800. Okay, John Ryan, you're on the spot.
You're going to put me on the spot? What you got?
Repair of the week.
Oh, goodness. I don't even, like I say, I never even remember yesterday. Last week, we did a lot of maintenance, of course. But, of course, the timing belt, that's one of the biggest things that we see people forget about. Unfortunately, we had one. It was a spin, no start vehicle. It was actually, I think it was an Escort, if I remember correctly. And it, of course, came in, spin, no start. The engine, sounded like it'd spin over all day long, but it just didn't sound like it had compression. So, of course, we popped the timing belt cover off after doing a compression check and found that the timing belt was actually still attached. So, of course, we spun the vehicle over by hand and found out that the camshaft still wasn't rotating. What happened was the belt was, I guess, physically intact, but the actual teeth or the ribs off the belt had stripped. Of course, I know you've seen that 100 times. So it's just, kind of a typical story. The timing belt needed to be changed a lot earlier than it was. Luckily, because of that one just stripped out, it wasn't, it didn't bend any of the valves or anything like that. Most of the stuff stayed in time. It's just that the belt actually stripped out at the bottom. So everything kind of stayed together. But, that could have been a very catastrophic failure for that engine because, of course, it would have bent the valves had, the belt have just broken. So just kind of a quick tip just to, number one, find out if your vehicle has a timing belt or a timing chain. And if it has a timing belt, find out what interval the manufacturer recommends.
Yeah. And it's a good idea to put up some kind of reminder to do that. If you have
absolutely.
A shop that you work with that can send you a message after so many days or so many miles, make sure that they do that. Or you might put it in your phone or something along those lines to do that.
That's right.
All right. Now, another what we run into this week, we had we had several little weird problems. We did have some timing belt jobs, just like you described. One timing belt was done because the gentleman had it did before, but when they did it, they didn't replace his water pump.
Oh man.
And that's why, and he had it done probably about 20,000 miles ago. I think at about 100,000 miles.
Right.
And at 120, the water pump started leaking. Well, the place that did it before didn't do the water pump at the same time.
Right.
And of course, that is recommended. Now, that could be the way. The gentleman might have told him he didn't want a water pump when he did it. Or they may not have recommended it. But either way, you had to pull a brand new timing belt back off a car. Well, not brand new. It had 20,000 miles.
Yeah.
And then redo it over again. And of course, we put the water pump. In this case, we did the seals, crank seals, because it was starting to leak a little bit.
And that's a good tip too, because of course, if that water pump leaks on even a new timing belt, you don't really want to put that timing belt back on because, of course, it's been saturated with coolant. And of course, over a period of time, the next 20,000, 30,000, whatever that timing belt may go, it may sacrifice how long that timing belt will last because it's been contaminated with a fluid. So just kind of keep that in mind. It's always better just to go ahead and do it the first time. It's kind of like putting duct tape over a hose pipe or something that's busted. It's going to leak again.
Yeah.
So it's better to go ahead and replace everything that's in there. And do
we
it right.
we also had some adaptive headlight issues.
Oh, really? Okay.
Having to reprogram
some calibration
some of those,
issues. Yeah.
That we did. So we had several weird jobs, and we have a ZR3 that's being very mean on programming the keys.
Oh, really? That's never fun.
Yeah, to get those to come back and do what they should do.
Yeah.
So it's been a great week, but there's also some hard ones mixed in with it because when you mentioned some of those, hey, tell you what, let's go to the phones real quick.
Yeah, we got about 2 minutes. Let's see if we can grab one.
Sounds good. Let's go to Howard in Charleston. Good morning, Howard. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, good morning.
Good
I have
morning.
a 1988 Corvette 4-speed manual, and I'm having trouble getting the car into reverse gear. There will be a grinding when I put it into reverse. I've had a new clutch, new master cylinder, transmission fluid, but it still grinds when I put it into reverse.
Howard, when you have the vehicle off and you engage it in reverse, does everything feel okay mechanically? Like, have you tried that before?
Yes, it'll do it on maybe 9 out of 10 times. It'll do pretty well.
Pretty well. That particular transmission was in several of the Z28 Camaros, of course, the Corvettes, and they have seen a lot of issues with the reverse gear in that transmission. Aaron, you probably remember L.W. Helmley's got a Camaro just like that, had the same problem. Unfortunately, they did update some of the parts in there to actually make that engagement a lot easier. So it would be a matter of going into of course, removing the transmission and going into it. I believe some of the synchronizers, I forget which gears, the synchronizers actually have to line up for that reverse gear to be able to be engaged. But, of course, this is just kind of a tip, and this is what Mr. Helmley used to do. If he knew, of course, you were in your driveway and you were going to put it in reverse, before you crank the car, go ahead and put it in reverse. Then when you crank the vehicle up, it's ready to go. It's already synchronized. You'd back on out and go on about your way. So that's just kind of a temporary fix, or, personally, if it was me, I would just plan on doing that every time.
Well, and also, I believe if you was to hold the clutch in for a period of time, it just takes a little longer.
I do, normally it does, Aaron, but I do remember those transmissions for whatever reason. You can hold it in there for a long period of time, and sometimes it would, sometimes it wouldn't. So,
and then the only other thing that I might suggest is making sure that it does have the correct fluid inside the transmission, because that does play some part in it. But like John Ryan mentioned, no matter what you do, you would still have it. But the actual repair that you would be talking about
going inside of it,
disassemble the transmission and add some parts, some updated parts.
Howard, you like my little trick about putting it in there before you crank it up?
I sure do. I'll do that. I will do that, and I enjoy your show.
You know why I like that one?
Why's that?
That one's free.
I do too.
Give it a shot, Howard.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you.
Bye.
I knew that one would win over mine. It sure did. Didn't it? Okay, it's time for a break. When we return, we'll talk about past, present, and future entertainment systems. We'll be right back. And we are back, and the car entertainment system is one of the items that we hadn't really talked that much about so far during this hour.
Yeah.
And of course, years ago, it started out as an AM
That's right. Yeah.
type radio, and then they had the AM FM radio.
That was huge.
Yeah, and then and I'll mention a little trivia thing here that this is kind of off the script here, but one of the first radios, it was in the early 1900s when they started when they had radio. Then people thought it was a novelty to take their home radio and adapt it in a way to where they could put it in their car.
I think somebody told me about that one time, how they would adapt it over, and sometimes you'd take half the dash out just to get it in there and stuff.
And people thought that was really neat to be able to adapt that over into it. But anyway, they moved on forward, and then of course came the 8-track.
Yeah, I actually scrapped up one of yours here. Let me play it for you.
Little GTO.
Well, I did listen to some of those.
Did you?
Some of the Beach Boys songs, yeah. And I thought they were kind of neat to listen to as you were riding around from time to time. And then a little later, of course, we had the cassette player.
Yeah, cassette.
Yeah, and those were big. And then, of course, the CD player came along, and a lot of cars do still. I'm assuming that CD players still come.
Yeah, they're still coming around. A lot of the aftermarket radios don't necessarily have CD players anymore. A lot of them are based off of like an internet, Pandora, or of course, Bluetooth
Plug
or something
your
like that.
USB port
yeah,
into
exactly.
it.
No, you don't have to touch radios anymore. Aaron.
Oh, you
Remember?
don't.
Yeah,
Have to touch it
Bluetooth.
anymore?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's gone.
All right, so that'll work out good. But anyway, to play the iTunes and other songs that you may have already on your phone, and of course, many cars now are your Wi-Fi hotspots. On there, and that's a big thing. I think that's even
if you have somebody tailgating, they're probably using your Wi-Fi.
they're tied in on your system, or they'll roll down the window and say, "Can I get your passcode?"
Yeah, what's your password?
That'll work out.
Maybe
good.
it'll be a tag number.
And in the future, the vehicle or your car may be your main computer that holds most of your information.
Well, we've always said too, a lot of people don't realize how many computers are technically on the car. Some of these vehicles that we scan, for trouble codes, a BMW 50 modules is not uncommon. Some of the American cars, 30 modules isn't uncommon. So they're already rolling computers, as you know.
And we mentioned before that in the very near future I take that back, not in the near future. They're doing it.
We kind of are in the near future.
The BMWs, certain model BMWs do use fiber optics.
Yes.
To be able to transfer the information between all of these computers.
And of course, we found out that is a very hard system to diagnose.
Yes.
Fiber optic is something you cannot see.
Yeah. And it is very, very fast.
Yes, very
the
fast.
Information that's
big thing
through.
that they ran into with that is, if one of the lines or the cables got damaged, there's really no repair for a fiber optic. So you have to, in many cases, replace the harness that goes from whatever component failing to the next. So big time.
Well, we're going to go around the room real quick, and we're going to find out each person's favorite option on their car that they have.
Okay.
That they use the most, that they consider the option that they could not do without.
I would have to say stereo, honestly.
Okay, yours would be you love your stereo.
Yep.
All right, let's go to Troy.
I'd have to actually go with just my basic onboard computer monitoring the systems, gas mileage, things
Yeah,
like that.
there you go.
Your
Thought you were going to say your convertible top.
Well, that too.
your-
Not this weather.
No, there you go.
that's what my son Brad says all the time when if we're looking at a car and thinking about restoring it or just kind of wondering what the price is. He says when the top comes down, the price goes up.
That's right.
So he likes that. Sherry, do you have an option you like the most?
Mine would be OnStar and the backup camera.
There you go. Those very cool features.
Yeah, I think that's kind of neat. I think mine would be, of course, to drive a Prius. I believe that would be being able to run off the battery power.
Synergy system, yeah.
Yeah, I like that. And I like the process of seeing how long I can leave it in the
That's what I was
battery.
going to say. One of the things we've always tried to do, every time you take off, see how long we keep just in of course, electric mode,
And I kind of like the display side of that on being able to look at it and tell how much fuel mileage you're getting at any moment.
That's right,
on there.
I do think that as far as a hybrid goes, Prius has everything user-friendly. It's very simple to understand, and a lot of the display is very simple to read, basically.
Yeah, well, you really don't have to do hardly anything but it is a vehicle that you don't want someone just to jump in and drive. For instance, we have a new person here at the shop that will be helping us from time to time, and that person will be driving the Prius from time to time. And I did want to drive around the block with that person just a little bit.
Yeah, just kind of let them into it. Yeah.
And one of my biggest fears, and I'm gonna go ahead and mention this, and we're getting close to running out of time, but this is something to me that is very, very important on modern cars that most of them have, and that's your memory key,
right?
That you have. You don't stick the key in the ignition and turn the key.
You just hop in.
Now, here's the drawback to that. It is very easy to get out of that car and forget that you did not put it in park
and keep going. Yeah.
And or on top of that, on a vehicle with an internal combustion engine in it, when you have that feature, there are cases to where people will pull into their house, and let's say they park under the house and the house is built
above,
over it.
Yeah.
And or just a regular garage that the garage door comes down. Well, they get out, they go inside, and then the next thing you know, when they get inside the door, the engine's running. Well, they go to sleep and then don't wake up.
Yeah, they go to sleep.
So carbon monoxide poison is very possible on those. And again, just making sure that the vehicle,
like you said, just
off.
being aware of what it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think that all that is going to be major important things for the cars in the future. But all in all, I had a lot of fun talking about a lot of these systems that we have on cars. And here's what's really wild to think about.
What's that?
If all this has happened that we've seen happen in the last 10 years, what's the coming year on hold for us?
That's actually a little scary.
Yeah. Is there the high probability that in the near future that cars are just going to drive into the shop by themselves?
I think that's safe to say, honestly.
Yeah,
I really do
too. Yeah, I think it's kind of neat. Okay, well, we are just about to run out of time here. And we want to say thank you to all those that tuned in or logged in, especially those that called in to the CNC Auto Show. Time to shut this hour down, but we'll be cranking up a whole new hour before you know it. And remember that you can watch us live on Saturday mornings at ccautoshow.com. You can also catch us on Facebook, and you can watch past shows on YouTube. And thank you again for listening to the CNC Auto Show.